Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Eating Me podcast. I'm excited and I'm also sad because this is our last conversation in the series of me celebrating the Black community in Evansville, Indiana. If you haven't been listening to the series and know this, Evansville is my hometown. Obviously, I grew up in the Black community and just, been, you know, at knee by someone's knee when I was a child, listening to so many stories and just over the years, just realizing how rich the history is in Evansville. And then also realizing that this community is also still thriving and doing things to make Evansville such a great place. And so it's been amazing to, talk to folks about the community, and also sad to know that this is our last conversation. But I thought, you know what? If I'm going to end it out, I've got to end it out with a bang. And I thought, who could I actually talk to about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is the gospel community in Evansville, Indiana. And I instantly thought of one of my really good friends. And I said, yes, I have to reach out to her. So I am so excited for y'all to hear this conversation with none other than Dr. Kandace Hinton. So, Dr. Kandace Hinton is an associate professor and coordinator of the Higher Education Leadership Program in the Educational Leadership Department at Indiana State University. She also serves as special assistant to the provost for the Diversifying the Faculty Initiative. Dr. Hinton holds a master's and Ph.D. in higher education administration from Indiana University, Bloomington, and a bachelor's of arts degree from Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. Musically, Dr. Hinton served as minister of music at Messiah Baptist Church in Indianapolis, Indiana, and New Hope Baptist Church in Evansville, Indiana. She was the choral director for the Evansville Black History Month Community Choir for 10 years, the coordinator of the Evansville Philharmonic Orchestra's Gospel Night Choir with Sean Humphreys, and currently, Dr. Hinton serves as the interim director of worship and arts at New Hope Baptist Church. Y'all, I am really excited for y'all to hear this conversation. I won't keep y'all waiting. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Kandace Hinton to the Eating Me podcast. Oh my goodness, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Eating Me podcast. This is Alicia. And I am really excited because this actual series that I've been focusing on my hometown of Evansville, Indiana, and just the history around the Black folks that I grew up with, that I love, that are near and dear to my heart. And I am finishing this series, which I am beyond excited, with a really dear friend of mine, Dr. Kandace Hinton. I have known Kandace my whole life. Her family and my family, like, we have just kind of been, together for so many years. And this is just, I am honored that she is here to be here on the podcast to talk about actually the history of gospel music in Evansville. I grew up singing and various actual choirs back home, and I've always looked up to Dr. Hinton. So I am super just excited and happy to have you on the podcast. So welcome to the Eating Me podcast, Dr. Kandace Hinton.
Thank you, Alicia, for inviting me. This is exciting. First of all, we didn't grow up together. I am your elder.
This is true.
She was the baby of her family, and I watched Alicia grow up and develop. So yes,
Yes.
that's who you
Thank
are.
you. Yes. So, I'm really, just excited. One, to talk to you about the history of gospel music in Evansville, but also the progression and how gospel music is still shaping Evansville as we speak. But one thing I wanted to talk about, and I thought was really interesting, was the start of gospel music in actually a church that you attend now, which is New Hope, or well, one of the churches you attend is New Hope Baptist Church. Can you kind of give us a brief rundown of how you are directly, like, not so much influenced, but even your actual background in gospel music as relates to your family in particular? When I think about the Blair. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. The Blair Gospel Singers. If you can kind of give us a rundown of that, I would love for our listeners to just even learn about this because this is something that's new to me as well.
Great. Yeah. Growing up in Evansville, I grew up in New Hope Baptist Church, which prior to that was Little Hope Baptist Church. So
Right.
Little Hope was like at 663 South Elliott, right next to it, 665 South Elliott. My mother's family, my mother, all of her siblings were born in the house directly next door to Little Hope.
Wow.
My mother, my family was mostly at Cleves Memorial Methodist Church, which was a couple
Oh.
blocks away. My mother, growing up, wasn't really that excited, and so she would always come home and peep in the window of Little Hope and enjoyed that worship. And her mother
Mm.
gave her permission to join that church, and she got baptized at Little Hope, and so grew up there. Then the whole family ultimately migrated from Cleves to New Hope Church, and so New Hope Baptist Church. And so my mother began singing in the choir there at 12 years old. She and some other sisters in the church developed the New Hope Quintet, and
Oh
they
wow.
traveled all over singing and gained a lot of notoriety and popularity. And she just always talked about it. We saw photos of them singing. Of course, Kim and I weren't born. Kim is my sister. We weren't
Yeah.
born when the New Hope Quintet was singing. However, growing up, they would kind of get back together from time to time and do some singing around the house or church. So in mom's uh, so New Hope Church, where it sits now, again, that's where my mother was born, and the
Wow.
church ultimately bought that property and built the newer sanctuary in 1964
Mm.
on that spot. And so my DNA is literally in the ground of New Hope Church, and so my most of my being has been, as long as I've lived in Evansville or close to Evansville, I've been part of the New Hope Church. And so back to Little Hope and the New Hope Quintet. Again, it was mom and a bunch of singers. And then came along a young man from Clarksdale, Mississippi by the name of Joe Hinton.
Mm.
And Joe Hinton was our father. He was a recording artist, but he started singing gospel. He sang with the Memphis. Now I'm drawing a blank. There's a group out of Memphis with Sam Cooke and some other guys down there, and he had a couple of hits with them, and then as he moved to Evansville, he and the Blair Gospel Singers formed a group, and the Blair
Okay.
Gospel Singers that was made up of James Blair, who was a deacon at New Hope,
Mm.
commuted back and forth to Chicago. James Blair, then the Pullum brothers, Elijah Pullum, who owned a record store in Evansville on the corner of Lincoln and Elliott at the time. So there
Mm.
was James Blair, Elijah Pullum, Blanton Pullum, uh, Willie Ed Pullum,
Oh,
and so
okay.
they formed a group called the Blair Gospel Singers, and they did some recording too. And then my father was plucked and became a R&B singer
Mm.
with a hit called "Funny How Time Slips Away" and a couple other songs. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the foundation of music. But there were some other groups that came out of New Hope. The Golden Echoes, that was
Oh.
made up of Cordelia Ushery, Wimp Lash, and Bertha Doolin. Uh,
Okay.
so they had a group called the Golden Echoes, and that
Mm.
group kind of came out of New Hope Church also. And so
And,
New Hope foundationally had been kind of the spot for gospel music.
that is so. Just, I mean, obviously, I'm a lot younger, but I've always looked to New Hope when it came to gospel music, and I think a lot of people in Evansville also looked to New Hope as it related to gospel music. I mean, I remember coming to New Hope on Sundays because I grew up Adventist, so when we would come over to New Hope, the first time I actually heard music like that, because Adventist music is a bit more conservative.
A little bit.
But when I heard that, I was just blown away. I was like, wait a minute, how are these people right across the street from me? This is amazing. And so that led to, obviously me joining the Gospel Music Workshop of America and then also singing when Charles Fold would come to Evansville. So it's
You
just
a baby.
Huh?
You were a baby when Charles Fole was coming.
Yeah, I was actually really that was the first actually that was the concert that I went to when I was a child. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I asked my mother, I was like, when I get, older, can I come and sing in this
Oh
choir?
wow.
And she was like, yeah, girl, you can go and sing whenever you want to. And so I was like, that's all you had to say to me. So like,
Yeah, mom, Miss Leona used to sing with us in those community choirs, and then, she
yes.
formulated her own little choir with the senior citizen. She was popular around there.
Right, exactly. And also you're downplaying all this. You also had your own singing group as well.
Yeah, I was part of the inspirations. So
Yes.
fast forward from the Golden Echoes and the Quintet and Blair Gospel Singers. My sister Kim Hinton, Pat Carson, Pat Herring formulated a group called the Inspirations. I was their business manager. And then one time, Pat Carson couldn't make it because she had to work on a trip. And
Uh-huh.
so she asked me if I would sing alto. And I said, sure. So that was my little entree into being able to be part of the group musically and to sing with them. So we had the Inspirations and we
Mhm.
recorded. We recorded in Detroit. Um, our producer was Robert Anderson, and we had a good time doing that. And then we formed the Gospel Music Workshop out of the Inspirations to
Mm.
establish a community choir. But even before the Inspirations, Pat Carson's mom had a choir called the Evansville Community Choir.
Yes.
I was kind of young, but I was in that choir as well. And that choir was, pretty foundational. They're very popular around the Evansville area and the Inspirations. And then we created the Gospel Music Workshop. But all along, Charles Fold started coming. Well, before Charles Fold,
Mhm.
my mom brought in a woman named Dorothy Grant from Detroit, and that was kind of
Okay.
the first kind of community choir before Charles Fold came. Dr. Neal got hold of Dorothy Grant and started bringing her along with a young man out of Chicago who started doing plays and gospel music. So the plays that you were engaged in, The Wiz,
Right.
Your Arms Are Too Short to Box with God,
Right.
so many others. White, his last name was White,
Okay.
names. And so those things Dr. Neal would bring to our city, and that formulated the community choir. So after Dorothy Grant, he brought in Charles Fold in
Mm.
the early 80s, I believe. And Charles came for like 20 years straight. And
Right.
so that was just, and all of those concerts, it was always the culmination of Black History Month.
Mhm.
Dr. Neal had put on so many things leading up to that last Sunday in February. And so for a full week, we rehearsed with Charles Fold, and we would have these humongous concerts
Yes.
that
Oh,
Sunday night, and they would last for hours, and the church would be packed, and you could feel the floor shaking. And so that was huge, and that went on for 20 years. And then after Dr. Fold didn't come anymore, Mr. Neal asked me to do it, and I did it for
yes.
10 years. And that was like, I couldn't believe he even asked me to do it, but I did, and it was a blessing to me. And to your point, what I tried to do, Dr. Neal always wanted to be historical, and so I always tried to make sure that the concerts that I did, I knew I wasn't Charles Fold, so I wanted to make it something very unique around the idea of history, the history of gospel music.
Yes.
There were some years where I would start with the drums of Africa, and then I moved to the ring shouts in on the Gullah Islands and the
Mm.
field hollers, and then we would move to spirituals and we do hymns, and then the transition into gospel music into contemporary gospel. And so those are some amazing times and times that
Yes.
we all learned together the evolution of gospel music in the United
Yeah.
States.
And I as you were saying that, it's like so many memories were just coming back to me, from, when I was living in Evansville. And one thing I do remember was there was a song and it sticks with me to this day. And I think you actually directed the song, but it was Oh to Be Kept by Jesus.
Yeah, all to be kept. We sang that at New Hope a couple of weeks ago.
No way.
Yeah, I keep it in the repertoire. You can't go wrong with hymns, and that one in particular, we keep it alive.
That song, I just don't there's so much depth to that song. It's such a simple song, but at the same time, the depth of it is just such a beautiful song. And it's like every time not every time, but a lot of times when I think about those days, that song instantly pops in my head, and I
Oh,
see you directing. Like it's crazy.
yep, that's a hit. That's one of our favorite songs.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful song.
Mhm.
And another thing I wanted to also say, one thing I will say, because you brought up Dr. Ira Neal, he actually educated me and obviously a lot of other kids in the Evansville community because at one point, and this is another thing that I'm giving praise to New Hope about and Dr. Ira Neal. When I was in school, I think it was a week of Black History. It was a Black History Week. It wasn't a month at that time, but New Hope had a day where they offered education, Black history to students, and we came and we watched. I think Eyes on the Prize, and a few other people came in and spoke to us, and it was just like there were so many things that Dr. Neal did for the community. That's something that will stick with me for the rest of my life. Like he was such an amazing individual.
Yeah. So he did a whole month of celebration, but what you're referring to was actually Martin Luther King Day when
Oh, yes.
before the schools celebrated, before it was a holiday, uh, Pastor Brown and Dr. Neal worked together to open New Hope up for parents to, don't send your kids to school. It was a
Yes.
matter of resistance. Don't send them to school on MLK Day. Send them to New Hope. And you're right, they showed Eyes on the Prize. They had a full day, and until the schools and the state caught up with the holiday, that's what kids did. And they would go to the roller dome and just have an afternoon of being in fellowship and unity together. So yeah, those were the days.
Yes. And thank you for like correcting me on that because I was like, I knew it was like around that time, but yeah, thank you
Go
so
together.
much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, I love that. Another thing I also wanted to just ask about just your actual feelings around the progression of gospel music as you see it now, and particularly how you're like, I guess not so much managing, but like kind of like navigating this new like age of gospel. Like, do you incorporate gospel, like the new age gospel, or are you still kind of like in the traditional, like old school gospel way when it comes to, sharing that with New Hope or whatever community that you're directing with?
Traditional gospel music will always be my
Yeah.
heart. It's what touches me. It's what reaches me. It's what I need when
Yeah.
I'm going through. There are times when I'm driving, I'll put on something different, just to drive and bop my head to. I'm not a fan necessarily of CCM, Christian
Mm,
contemporary music. That is just kind of not. It's kind of outside our culture, so to speak.
right.
Jesus is Lord, whether or not the Commodores sing it or whether or not the Blair Gospel Singers were singing it.
Right.
But it's kind of a feeling, and even the chord structure. Some of the CCM music is just two chords, bum, bum, bum,
Right.
and it doesn't really hit like it does. And so, and even with that, a lot of those artists, and I do some CCM. I trust in God, my Savior, the one who
Yeah.
will never fail. So I do some CCM, but I fix it up
Okay.
to fit New Hope Church because that's where I am right now. New Hope,
Right.
we have a young pastor and a younger congregation, but it's still very, very traditional. If I try to pull some new stuff and CCM on them, they're gonna sit there and with their arms folded, they won't sing and they won't join in. And I'm like, come on, let's sing together. And they just kind of look at me. And so, but the moment I pull out, thank you, Lord, for
Yes.
all you've done for they in.
Right.
They up singing. They know the lyric. They love it. So I think the important part is that you select music that the people will engage and be part of it, and not
Right.
sitting there as though they're at a movie theater. So I'm
Right.
I'm still traditional, but I like some contemporary, particularly if they are from the African American experience. Some
Right.
contemporary music, but then some of it gets a little bit wild, and I'm definitely not in the CCM camp.
Right. Right. No, I understand. And I wanted to ask that because I feel like there's such a transition, and like you said, this that feeling. It just seems, and this is not to down, or knock out, like the new age, gospel music, but it just seems very surface.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes plenty
You
of sense.
know,
It is. It's commercial. It's
right,
safe. It's a hook. It's repetition, and and some of it tells a story. But for me, it feels very commercial and something for sales.
right, right. And I don't know if that's because of just our like the past like history, like just in what Black folks have gone through,
Hmm.
and now that people, I guess, quote unquote, aren't really experiencing those things, that might be the thing. Like I don't know. Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah. So in listening to some of that music, particularly if Black artists are singing it,
Right,
they are going to circle back around at the end of that song and tag something very traditional, like
right,
the blood that gives from day to day, it reaches to the highest mountain. They will circle around and mix some of that traditional into one of those songs. So, I love Jabari Johnson. I love some of the folks who toured with Kirk Franklin recently.
hmm,
They can really sing.
right,
And at times it'll hit them. But Kiara Sheard, she's true. She's true to the culture. She's the real deal. Jacqueline Carr. Those are young people who are still singing very good traditional gospel music.
right,
New, but it still links in with traditional. It still
right,
reaches the heart.
right. And I also, because I know this new, I'm kind of like shifting gears here, but the new community choir that has been started in Evansville. For those who are listening, we were just talking about like Charles Fold, and I can't remember the woman that you mentioned before, but the
Dorothy
different,
Grant.
yes,
Mhm.
the different. What'd you say?
Dorothy Grant. That was the
Yeah,
other.
Dorothy Grant. Yes, thank you, thank you. Um, those actual choirs brought together communities outside of New Hope. So it's different choirs from, and just different people, not just so much choirs, but different folks from different churches in the Evansville community. And I'm bringing this up because and this is, I'm hoping this won't bring up too much emotion, but I wanted to just kind of like touch on Reverend James Hamler.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
such an amazing musician, individual, and I just wanted to just like just touch a bit on him because of just his brilliance and his actual impact in Evansville gospel music as well. Because he also helped with this particular choir, correct?
He revived. So a few years ago, the African American James and I wanted to revive the community choir one way or the other, and
Right.
along came Reverend Richard Barnes, who had done a
Oh
unity
yeah.
choir with Crossroads Church, and it was mostly white people, and there were hardly any black folks. It was just really the Barnes family and some from Eastview participating, and so the sponsors of that, came around and they asked me and James if we would pull together a choir.
Mhm.
And James and I said yes, but we don't want to host it at Crossroads. Nothing. Crossroads, beautiful church. That's where we had James
Right.
final. But we wanted to centralize it because historically that choir or the essence of that choir had been in the hood, right in the community.
Right.
And so they had some big sponsors, and they ended up doing it downtown at the Events Plaza,
Mm.
at the yeah at the Events Plaza, which is the old Civic Center as we knew it.
Right.
And so I did it with him. We were co-directors the very first year that we brought it back. And then after that, it just really wasn't. I live in Terre Haute, so it really wasn't worth. Not I won't say worth my time because I still went every year, but I didn't have the energy to drive back
Right.
and forth and do rehearsals and all that. So James pretty much took it and developed it even more. And so, but I still had a hand, still helped him
Hmm.
with whatever he needed. But so it was a vast array, and James touched a lot of communities. I don't know if you
Yes.
watched his service or not, but he just he was friends with everybody, and he just, made that choir. He, um, from all walks of life. They folks may not even believe in Jesus, but they believe in that choir. They wanted to sing
Right.
because it was a unity choir, and it was
Right.
about bringing our communities together.
Right.
Black people, white people, Latinos, Muslims,
Wow.
all faiths really participated in that choir. Just all denominations, and so it was wonderful to see kind of the vision of a unity choir for the city of Evansville come together in that way. But in doing that, everybody we sang Black gospel music, so
Right.
folks really enjoyed that as well. And we did James also was one of the directors for the Philharmonic Gospel at the Philharmonic for years.
Wow.
Sean Humphreys did it, and
Hmm.
then Sean and I did it as co-directors. So Sean asked me to come, and so we did the Philharmonic for a long time as well, even before the Unity Choir came back around. So we're hoping to, maybe do something this February with the Unity Choir, just to kind of keep it alive until
Right.
some younger folks will come along and take it and move with it.
First of all, this is so beautiful. Like I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about how we started this conversation talking about little hope. You know what I'm saying? Like and these humble beginnings and then to be performing for the Philharmonic, that is
Wow,
amazing.
it is as you think about it, very humble beginnings, and it's just progressed, and God has graced our community. There's a lot of talent in Evansville, and so
Yes.
He's graced and favored the community, and so it's just a matter of us pulling together. I've traveled all over the world, and
Right.
I've sang in some interesting, wonderful places. Madison Square Garden, one of them. I've sang all over the country and in different places of the world, but I don't find any
Mm.
greater talent than that's in Evansville. So
And you know what? I definitely agree with you. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this because the talent and I always tell people I'm like I can't tell you like I can't describe it that the talent that is in my little town
yeah,
is undeniable. Like
yeah,
it is just unreal and I'm blessed and just happy and proud to be from Evansville to know that I was able to be around all that talent and then to move forward and do some things myself. But I'm so happy. I'm glad you had the time. I know uh we had to kind of like figure out some things in terms of like my schedule, your schedule. So I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this.
we worked
Huh?
it, we worked it out.
We
So
definitely worked it out.
I knew that Alicia, you've just been a joy, and just you've been a really, really good friend. I'll do. I'll go
Yeah.
to the moon. I'll go to the mat. Somebody tell me that somebody's messing with Alicia. I'm getting on a plane. I'm coming to New York. I'm like, hey, I'm taking these off. Say, listen, what we need. Look, where is she? What I need to do, Lou. I'll go to the mat for me some Alicia now.
Thank
I
you so
I love
much.
you. You've just been a really good friend, just like your family has. So
Yeah. Oh,
whenever and whatever you need from me, you got it.
thank you. And same. It's definitely the same. I definitely feel the same way. I love you so much.
I love you, girl.
Oh, thank you. And I'm looking forward to hearing more and seeing more about the community choir that's going to be starting up again this year. Um, and hopefully I don't know, but I'm hoping there'll be like some type of like memorial service or some type of like celebration around Reverend Hamler as well.
Yeah,
Because
that's the goal. I talked to Corey Miller, who's at the helm of the African American Museum, and they're the ones who were the primary sponsors. And I told him, I
uh-huh.
said, people have been asking about it. And I said, I'm willing to help pull it together. And he said, okay, I'll be calling on you. So I hope he does.
Yeah.
And if I don't hear from him, uh, 1st of December, I'll just
Mm.
start trying to do something with, some of the people that I know and doing something. So,
Right.
and it will be, in fact, the University of Evansville contacted me
Oh,
about doing something relative to James Hamler for their Martin Luther King celebration. And so I'll be pulling together, hopefully, a group of singers to go to the University of Evansville.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
Mhm. Yeah.
That'll be great. Oh, I love this. Candace, thank you so much again. This was amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Alicia.
You are welcome. If you could just let our, listeners know and viewers, because this is also on YouTube, like how they can like find you. If there's like, are you just social media? Are there websites? Just take it away.
I don't have a website. I did because I sit on the city council in Terre Haute, so I had
Yes.
my city council website. And it'll be back up and running in about a year. Uh,
Okay.
but of course, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, um, the Spiel, which is a black thread, social media thread. Um, so you can find me there. You can find me at Indiana State University on the website there. And you can always find me at New Hope Baptist Church on any given Sunday morning.
Yes.
You can find
I
me.
I love it. Thank you so much again. And y'all, I'll share this in the show notes. Just so if you just want to just click real quick and just trying to find Candace, I'll make sure that you can do that. Thank you so, so much again. This was amazing.
Thank you, Alicia.
You are welcome. And y'all, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Eating Podcast. I'll see y'all next week. All right. Bye. Thank you.